We got 7 different stories from 7 different media news outlets, guys. It's time for another episode of Regan's Newsround. Let's go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Reganelite here with another episode of Regan's Newsround, where we look at 7 different news stories from 7 different media outlets. And we start with an exclusive from The Guardian that leaked reveals that Michelle Mone told the government that she would not benefit financially from a PP firm. The exclusive revealed that the Tory peer said she had no conflicts whatsoever 5 months before the Truss received £29 million in profit. So I still find this very hard to believe that the government didn't know that there was something dodgy here. I mean, and the thing is that Michelle Mone is kind of being made the scapegoat amongst other people who have ripped us off with the whole PPE scandal. It's not just her. There's lots of others that have ripped us off, and it's very important to remember that. And she just happens to be being made the scapegoat in all of this. Yeah, let's be very clear about this. Yes, she is at fault. Yeah, for what she's done, her and her husband. But there are others out there who have gotten away with this, and we're not hearing about them because they're not the big story. They're not the big scandal. We didn't see a picture of her. We didn't see a picture of them sitting on a yacht somewhere in the middle of nowhere, did we? We saw Michelle Mone standing on a yacht, and that image is kind of really just an absolute Mickey taker, considering that we are in a cost of living crisis. We're struggling right now, and taxpayer money had gone to her, gone to this company with the intention of giving us procurement for PPE, only to find out that the PPE was cheap as chips and it doesn't even do the job. And yeah, just screams scam all over it, doesn't it? But did the government not know? Like the Michelle Mone saying here, like, I can see the small print here, and I don't know how clearly you guys can see. There's a small print there. On the 22nd of May 2020, from to Michelle Mone from the Cabinet Office scandal. It says, "Hi Michelle, I do now have confirmation that a member of our closing team allocated to the desk with PPE MedPro. Sorry, I don't have a. Some of it's been redacted. I'll be making them contact them ASAP to discuss the detailed commercial type IR mask. I have been asked if you could provide a one-line statistics cover. This will not in any way slow down progress. I can't see the full thing, but I'm sure as we read into it, we'll see a bit more of it. But are we really going to believe that the government did not know that she was going to benefit financially in some way from this? Of course they knew they were going to benefit. Of course they did. Let's read into it then, guys. So the Conservative peer Michelle Mone assured the government that she was not entitled to any financial benefit whatsoever from a PPE company 5 months before the 29 million of its profits was transferred into a trust for her benefit. Leaked emails between Mone and the Cabinet Office revealed that a civil servant asked her to make a declaration that she had no conflict of interest in relation to the company PPE MedPro, which she had recommended to ministers in May 2020. Mone stated that she had no conflicts whatsoever and that she was not entitled to any financial remuneration or financial benefit whatsoever. So she essentially lied then, is what's basically. The civil servant then asked for clarification about the involvement of Mone's husband, the Isle of Man-based financial service businessman Doug Barrowman. She replied that Doug had a very philanthropic individual who wanted to help the NHS and was negotiating to lower the prices that the government was paying for PPE. Yeah, sure. That I'm finding very, very hard to believe, considering the quality of these PPE, the PPE that was procured from them. I find that very, very hard to believe. The leaked emails raises new questions about whether Mone, who was appointed to the House of Lords by David Cameron in 2015, was fully transparent about her and Barrowman's involvement in financial interest in PP MedPro before the government awarded the company multi-million-pound contracts. In June 2020, within weeks of Mone giving these assurances, the government awarded PPE MedPro 2 contracts to supply PPE worth a total of £203 million. 3 months later, Barrowman was paid at least £65 million from the profits on these contracts. According to documents procured by HSBC Bank and seen by The Guardian, he secretly transferred £29 million from those profits to an offshore trust set up to benefit Mone and her children. The National Crime Agency is conducting a long-running investigation into Mone and Barrowman for potentially fraud and bribery offences relating to the procurement of the PPE MedPro contracts. The couple deny any wrongdoing. Well, it's very... they deny any wrongdoing, guys. Deny any wrongdoing. Mone's first approached the Cabinet Office Minister Michael Gove and Lord Anu with an offer to supply PPE in early May 2020. Anu referred her offer to the government's VIP lane, in which she gave high priority to companies recommended by people with political connections. The email between Mone and the Cabinet Office shows within a fortnight of Mone's approach to the minister, civil servants were progressing PPE MedPro's offer to supply equipment. However, they were also seeking full disclosure about Mone and Barrowman's relationship to the company. In an email to Mone, one civil servant who was working in the Cabinet Office on the government's emergency response to the COVID outbreak wrote, "I have been asked if you could provide a one-line statement to cover the lines we discussed so that we can document the declaration of no conflict." Mone replied, "In relation to PPE MedPro Limited, I can confirm I have no conflicts whatsoever in helping the company to achieve orders through the NHS. I am neither a shareholder of the company nor am entitled to any financial remunerations or financial benefit whatsoever. You can put this on the record. My role is to help the NHS deliver on its PPE targets and ultimately to save the lives of patients, medical workers and carers." Hold on a second. Well, Yeah, that sentence seems to come up quite a bit now, whenever I think about that now. He secretly transferred £29 million from those profits to an offshore trust to set up Mone and her children. I can confirm I've had no conflicts whatsoever in helping the company to achieve orders through the NHS. Make what you will, guys, make what you will. The civil servants replied by thanking the Tory peer and asking for additional clarification about Barrowman's involvement in the company. "Are you or Doug able to make any relevant statements relating to his involvement? I know his circumstances are different, but I am trying to ensure that everything is transparent as possible." Mone replied half an hour later with an email stating in large text at the top saying, "This is for the record." To clarify the position on Doug, he has made it clear from the outset that he has put in consortium together that constitutes PPE MedPro Limited. She wrote, "Behind the scenes, he has significantly negotiated the prices available to the NHS on PPE from the company. The end result is highly competitive pricing to ensure that NHS benefits from its years of experience in manufacturing, procurement and manufacturing supply chain." Doug is a very philanthropic individual about his Barrowman Foundation, supporting school buildings in Africa, and recently built a large centre in Manchester for the Prince's Trust. He's passionate about the NHS and during the crisis and wants to help the NHS. He has done through the procurement of plentiful supply of cost-effective PPE. She added, "I hope these statements help." Weeks later, the contacts for £203 million were complete. Mone and Barrowman have continued to claim that the company supplied PPE at the completion price and saved the government money. However, documents seen by The Guardian indicate that the surgical gowns for which the government paid £122 million under one of the contracts were bought from a Chinese manufacturer for only £46 million. The Guardian analysis of that deal and the second contract, a supply of face masks, suggested that PPE MedPro and three other companies on its supply chain shared a total profits of approximately £100 million on the £203 million contract. See here, right here, they were awarded £122 million under one of the contract, and they got procurement from a Chinese manufacturer for £46 million. Where's the rest of the money? We know where the rest of the money is. It's in their bank accounts. Yeah, this is the email there to confirm it, guys. If you want to pause and have a look at the email, you're more than welcome to. But and there's a reply. "Thank you, Michelle." So these are the apparently emails here that they've made for the record, if you want to read them, just pause the video and have a look for yourself, guys. But yeah, it's so apparently, before I read any further, it's obviously what they're saying here. Is they're saying that the government didn't know. The government are trying to say, "Oh, well, we thought we made a very good deal. We thought they were trustworthy." I'm still having a hard time thinking that the government is in all this. I'm just having a hard time, guys, believing that. You know, I feel like I'm not the only one who's having a hard time believing that the government didn't know something was wrong here. Just going out on a little bit of a limb. A spokesperson for Mone and Barrowman, who argued there being a scapegoat for the government's failures at PPE procurement, said the NCA's investigation has been ongoing for almost 3 years. There were well over 1,000 separate communications with HM Government Department and Health and Social Care, and the small number of messages you quote are taken out of context. Doug and Michelle deny any wrongdoing and have not been charged with any criminal offences. The Cabinet Office declined to comment. A government spokesperson said this was due to ongoing legal cases. Excuse me. In December 2023, Monet and her husband admitted they had lied to the media for years when they instructed lawyers to deny that they were involved in PPE MedPro. In an interview with the BBC, Laura Queensberg, Barrowman acknowledged that they had made more than £60 million profit from the deal and they had transferred money into the trust. The couple said Barrowman's children were also beneficiaries of the trust. A YouTube film released in December that was paid for by PP MedPro and featured interviews from Monet and Barrowman reported that the NCA was investigating allegations of bribery, fraud by false representation and conspiracy to defraud. An NCA spokesperson said that its investigation, which began in May 2021 into suspected criminal offences committed in the procurement of PPE contracts by PP MedPro, was continuing. Now, obviously, yes, obviously the government can't comment, obviously, because there is still an investigation to take place. So we have to. So from that point of view, it's a kind of a get out of jail free card for them having to say anything. I still think that we are entitled to a shed ton of money back from them. The idea that it's just because of, well, this is money that we made out of profit, and I'm just thinking, well, yeah, but we gave you a big contract. You were supposed to use that contract to secure the best PPE procurement. I obviously I don't know the full details of the contract that was made between them and the government, but my understanding would have been, and people can argue as well, that perhaps they were rushing because they were trying to get PPE procurement. I still have a hard time believing that, considering that there were companies in the UK ready and waiting for the government to call them for PPE procurement. I don't buy straight off the bat from the government's point of view that they were rushing to get procurement from anyone and everywhere, because if they were, they would have got it from the UK, and instead we ended up picking from Michelle Mone, who's that doesn't really have any association with PPE procurement or anything from medical related. Yes, she owns a lingerie company, but what's that got to do with PPE? You know, and there were companies that related or had links to them, and they weren't contacted. You know, they weren't contacted at all. The money and whatever that was in the contract, yeah, that money should have been given back to the taxpayer. It should have been given back to the taxpayer, because this wasn't about companies making profits. This was about securing procurement for the benefit of saving lives. And what happened in the end was we ended up getting PPE that not even suitable for our NHS, let alone for citizens. Crap PPE is what happened here. A shed ton of money gone out the pan. And I don't accept that they should not have that money in any way, shape or form. They should not have it in any way, shape or form. So we're from one exclusive to another here, guys. This one is from Sky News. The headline: Brianna Ghey's father demands an apology from the PM after transgender jibe in the comments. Brianna Ghey's father told Sky News that Rishi Sunak's comments were dehumanising and he should apologise to them. So I've covered this obviously on the live stream. Basically, Rishi Sunak made a jibe at Keir Starmer, and he's made jibes about the phrase "what is a woman" at Keir Starmer, because Keir Starmer's not been very clear about that. This anti-trans joke, which is ridiculous, and it shouldn't be made in any way, shape or form. But obviously a massive uproar was caused because Brianna Ghey's mother was supposedly in the gallery at the time of when the joke was made, which is pretty disgusting to say the least. It's disgusting the fact that he even has to use those tactics. Many people were arguing, saying that Rishi Sunak shouldn't have to apologise. Well, he's making these comments. He's the one going out of order. He's the one showing that the more and more he's going down this path, the more out of touch he's become. And I've listened to very different outlets. You know, there's a lot of anger towards the Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and these comments, and this from Brianna Ghey's father is kind of just going to exacerbate it. Now, is he going to apologise? As of right now, I don't know at the time of this recording, so it's entirely possible, but by the time you guys watch this, he may actually apologise. It is entirely possible. It's not out of the realms of possibility. But I just don't see him apologising, because he's not somebody who has any kind of integrity whatsoever. But this does make the Conservatives look extremely bad when the father is coming out and saying you should have apologised, that it was out of order. So it is applying a massive amount of pressure on the government, and in particular the Prime Minister. I mean, you only need to see that person behind, that's Victoria Atkins, who was laughing as well. The Health Secretary. The father of a murdered transgender teenager, Brianna Ghey, has demanded an apology from Rishi Sunak, saying that he was shocked by the Prime Minister's comments in the Commons on Wednesday. Speaking to Sky News, Peter Spooner said Mr Sunak's remarks during PMQs, which the schoolgirl's mother, Esther Gray, attended, were degrading and absolutely dehumanising. He said, as the Prime Minister of our country to come out with disregarding comments like he did, regardless of them being in relation to a discussion in Parliament, they are absolutely dehumanising. Identities of people should not be used in that manner, and I personally feel shocked by his comments, and he should apologise for his remarks. Mr Sunak has been criticised for aiming a political jibe about transgender people at Sir Keir Starmer, saying the Labour leader had broken promises on defining a woman. The Prime Minister so far has refused to apologise. As I've said, that could have changed by the time you guys see this video. However, it is understood Brianna's family have now been invited to a meeting about online safety, which her mother is campaigning to improve, with Mr Sunak and Technology Secretary Michelle Mone. During the exchange with Sir Keir, Mr Sunak said, we are bringing the waiting list down for the longest waiting and making progress, which is a bit rich to hear about promises from someone who has broken every single promise he was elected on. Just to point out, we never elected Rishi Sunak as a Prime Minister, first for the record as well. I think I counted almost 30 in the last year. Pensions, planning, peerages, public sector, tuition fees, childcare, second referendums, defining the woman, although in fairness that was only 99% of a U-term. Sir Keir had previously said that 99% of women haven't got a... The Labour leader who met Brianna's mother on Wednesday condemned the remarks, with a chorus of opposition backbenchers calling out shame. Of all the weeks to say that when Brianna's mother is in the chamber, Sir Keir had said. It should not be the case of all the weeks. It shouldn't be called that. It shouldn't be used rhetoric at all. It shouldn't be the case of any time, of all the weeks to do it when she's here. It should be a case of it shouldn't be used in any way, shape or form. I said it on the live stream and I'm saying it here. Parading as a man of integrity when he's got absolutely no responsibility. No, he hasn't, because he won't apologise for his remarks. But then again, Sir Keir Starmer won't apologise for his consistently U-turning. He won't call for a ceasefire in Gaza, for Israel to call for us to stop a ceasefire there. So don't think that he's whiskey clean, because he's not. I think the role of the Prime Minister is to ensure that every single citizen in this country feels safe and respected. It's a shame that the Prime Minister doesn't share that. Mr Sunak has also faced calls to apology from Labour MP Liz Twist during the session, but did not respond to a call. Even he has faced criticism from within his own ranks, with former Junior Minister Dylan Donovan saying it was disappointing to hear the joke being made at the trans community expense. And warning in a post on X that our words in the House resonates right across our society. Speaking on Times Radio, former Tory Business Minister Jacob Doyle-Price said it was careless and very ill-judged for Mr Sunak to have used the joke in that context, but also accused critics of having weaponised it. Well, it is being weaponised, but it's been weaponised by the Conservatives for so long as well. That's the other point. It should not be weaponised in any point. Never mind just what happened yesterday. It shouldn't be weaponised in any way, shape or form. Mr Sunak's press secretary later denied the remarks were transphobic and declined repeatedly to say sorry for Mr Sunak's language, saying it was part of a legitimate criticism of Labour. She said, if you look back on what the Prime Minister was saying, there was a long list of U-turns that the leader of the opposition had been making. We're talking about a specific remark that he made within that context of the sentence that he made. We're not talking about the other U-turns. We're talking about that specific one that he should not have made in any way, shape or form. I don't think those U-turns are a joke. I think it's quite serious changes in public policy. I think it's totally legitimate for the Prime Minister to point these out. There's nothing wrong with pointing out the U-turns, but when it comes to transphobic comments, which is what it was, that's not acceptable. Treasury Minister Laura Trott also told Politics Hub with Sophie Ridge she did not think the Prime Minister had done anything wrong, adding, what the Prime Minister was talking about today was absolutely nothing to do with this case. Brianna, 16, was murdered by Scarlett Kingston and Eddie Ratcliffe, who were both 15 when the schoolgirl was stabbed to death in a Cheshire park last February. Last week, Jenkinson was jailed for at least 22 years and Ratcliffe for a minimum of 20 years. The pair, who were both 16, will be transferred to an adults' prison when they turn 18. During the sentencing, they were named for the first time. The judge said they had taken into account the sadistic and transphobic hostility of her killers. Mr Sunak concluded PMQs by addressing Brianna's mother, who was being campaigned to ban children from having access to social media apps on their phones. He said, if I could also say also to Brianna Ghey's mother, who is here, as I said earlier this week, what happened was unspeakable and shockingly tragic. As I said earlier this week, in the face of that, for her mother to demonstrate the compassion and empathy that she did last weekend, I thought demonstrated the very best of humanity in the face of seeing the very worst of humanity. She deserves all our admiration and praise for that. She absolutely does, her mother. There's no one's denying that. For her mother to do what the work that they are doing, I commend them. I really commend her. I really do, and I hope their campaign continues to thrive and succeed and makes a difference to all people out there, not just in the UK but across the world. I really do mean that. But it's really distasteful and disheartening when we have to talk about these things, and we shouldn't have to have these conversations, but we're having them because we have a society that doesn't accept people being different, being allowed to be different, allowed to be chosen for being who they are, and not try to be something that they don't want to be. It's pretty distasteful from the Prime Minister, but like I said, it's not the first time that we are having these conversations, and it's important to remember that, guys. It's not just what happened yesterday. This is happening all the time, and the only reason it's being highlighted is because the media jumped on this bandwagon. The media are just as guilty because, as No Justice rightly pointed out, they're hypocrites. Where were they beforehand when these jokes were being made? And she's absolutely right. So, guys, this next one here is from the BBC. This is about NHS Dentist. So the headline is NHS Dentist shortages to be tackled with cash incentives. This is from the BBC. Dentists who set up practice in areas of England with poor access to NHS care will be offered a £20,000 bonus. Well, there's as great as that is as a nice incentive. The problem is that private NHS dentistry costs way too much money. We are in a cost of living crisis. We have to remind ourselves that because obviously the government doesn't want to tell you that it's in a cost of living crisis and that everyone is doing hunky-dory happy and everybody's well. Or they'll say, we've gone through tough times, but the good times are coming. The good times are coming. We've had 14 years of you've had this for 14 years, but the good times are coming. So many kids are missing out on dental care, vital dental care. When I was younger, I was very lucky to have had the dental care that I did. I went nearly 2.5 to 3 years with braces. And it was very difficult for me to go through 2.5 years to 3 years with braces. But It's made a massive difference to my life when it comes to taking care of my teeth, guys. I can obviously everyone's teeth is different, and it's easy for people to say, well, they should brush their teeth twice a day and making sure they're looking after them. Well, if you can't even afford toothpaste, you can't afford a toothbrush, how are they supposed to brush their teeth? So, because some people are in that situation, it's really important that the young generation get dental care, and they should not have to pay over the odds to get that dental care as well, because it really is. I've seen the prices in dental care places, like it's just outrageous, outrageous just for a checkup. It's outrageous. Just to look after your own teeth, guys. Just to look after your own teeth. I mean, it's just crazy. Um, yeah, the NHS dentist system is in shambles. Anyone getting any kind of appointment is an absolute miracle. It really is. And if you're not on a registry, you need to get onto a registry if you can. If you have an area where you don't, my deepest sympathies with you if you are struggling to find one. I really am. I really do. My heart goes out. If you're listening to this and you're struggling to find one, please keep looking. Please don't give up. Looking after your teeth, looking after your children's teeth and whatever is really, really important to do so. But is this cash incentive, guys, which is the headline here, is this cash incentive going to make the difference? Is this going to help drive down a generation of children with their teeth? I'm not convinced. So, like I said, dentists who set up practice in areas in England with poor access to NHS care will be offered a £20,000 bonus. The government has also announced higher payments for dentists who take on new patients and teeth cleaning in schools as part of a plan to expand levels of healthcare. The plan has been criticised for not going far enough by dental leaders and Labour. The British Dental Association said this is rearranging the deck chairs. The 20,000 golden hello payment will be made up to 240 dentists, about 1% of the workforce. The aim is to get more people to work for 3 years in the so-called dental deserts, where the poorest access to NHS care. And the government hopes increasing the standard payment of all dentists get for carrying out NHS work will tempt more away from more lucrative private market. Dentists argue the money they are paid by the government to provide NHS dental care is not enough to cover the costs, especially in cases where people need complex procedures. And that's the other problem as well. There's so much work that needs to be done on some of these kids if they are to have decent teeth for the future. You know, the sooner that they're getting their teeth sorted, the better. And it's a challenge. You know, it's a real challenge for these dentists. It really is. You know, just chucking money at the problem. You gotta have a plan. You've got to have a plan to deal with dentistry. Just throwing money at it is not enough. It's not always a case of just throwing money at a problem. You got to have a more realistic plan, and it just feels like the Labour, the Conservative, the government are just basically saying, here's an incentive, do something about our NHS dental care, as opposed to actually dealing with it. At least that's how it comes across to me, anyway. But I'm not convinced by this at all. The Health Secretary Victoria Atkins told the BBC programme has listened to the profession by increasing the standard of payment for NHS work. I know it can be hard to secure an NHS dental appointment. The government is aiming for 1.5 million more treatments to be given over the next 12 months because of the plans. The British Dental Association leader Sean Charwood said the recovery plan is not worthy of that title. It won't halt the exodus from the workforce or offer hope millions struggling to access care. Nothing here makes the services fit for the future. The crisis will remain a burning issue in the communities across this country until we get a real change. That's the other thing as well, is that if the pay is crap and the workload is too much for these dentists in the NHS, why shouldn't they go private when they can get paid more and work less? That is an incentive for not just in the NHS dentists. That's for even our NHS doctors and nurses that I've said. Why work more for less when you can work less and get paid more? It's a no-brainer really for them. See, I've said this about many things. to encourage investment, to encourage benefits. You have to incentivize people. Now, it sounds like a lot, 20,000. Like that sound like that is an incentive, but it's not a big enough incentive That's not a big enough incentive at all. You're going to have to put your hand in your pocket a lot deeper if you're serious about fixing the NHS dental system. The measures announced by the government include an extra £15 for dentists on top of the standard payment of £28 for seeing a patient who has not visited a dentist for 2 years, an increase of up to £50 per patient that needs complex work, dental teams visiting schools and nurses to provide Florence varnish treatments and supported teeth brushing. I like this, but when are they going to make the time for this? I think is the question. I like this idea. I'm going to give credit where credit's due. I like this idea of dental teams visiting schools and nurseries to try and rather than them coming to them, that they go to them in the schools and nurseries to see their teeth. I do like that idea because that might help, and that might help with the numbers. So I think that's a good idea there. Mobile dental services in rural coastal areas with poor dental coverage. It will help if they get enough of them out into those areas and communities. I definitely think that can help. Will it make a big difference? Probably not. But again, this idea here, okay. So I'll if it can give people a dental service in their area where they haven't had any, why not? So I don't have a problem with that one. Expansion of water fluoridation to new parts of the country to help prevent tooth decay. Details. We don't really have too much details there. To support the proposal, an extra 200 million will be invested on top of the 3 billion currently spent each year. However, the BDA said spending on dentistry has dropped by 1 billion since 2010 once inflation was taken into account. And that's the problem there. Yeah, as I said about incentive, guys, there's not enough money. There's nowhere near enough money, and they've been losing less and less money. And now, because we are in a dental crisis as well as an NHS crisis, now you can see, the government needs to do something because they've realised we should do something about this. So, yeah, not good at all for them. And I really do feel for children out there. I really feel for parents out there who are just trying to get their kids on the registered just so they can get the dental care that they need. And for some people who are a bit older and maybe who've moved places and are a bit older, and maybe have not always had the best of teeth, and some of them at an older age or middle age are lost their appointments or whatnot, or no longer registered, who are struggling to get on the ladder as well. Let's not forget about them. Yeah, everyone should get access to dental care somewhere around. They really should. Guys, while you're here today as well, it really would help if you can hit the like button and share this video across social media, and subscribe because it really does help support the channel. The next one we got here is an exclusive from iNews, and I don't like this headline at all. So Labour's U-turn on the pledge to scrap the House of Lords because it's doing a good job. So Labour is preparing to shelve its pledge to abolish the House of Lords entirely in its first term in power if it wins the general election. Now I'll be very, very, very sceptical of this headline from iNews. And the reason why I say that is there is a possibility that down the road, within a second term, that Labour may introduce legislation for the House of Lords. And this may be just an incentive for them to be possibly in power. Now, we don't know that, but iNews don't always get everything right. So it's very important to put that distinction out here. I don't know if they're going to shelve their pledge. And I think if they do shelf it entirely, I think it's going to cause a lot of anger. Because this House is full of people that we did not vote for in any way, shape or form. It's really important to remember that. We did not vote for them whatsoever. And Labour should not entirely rule this out. And I think it's a mistake to do so. Obviously, by the time you guys see this, there's a good chance. Obviously, they will be dropping the green investment pledge, the £28 billion figure, but they may not be dropping the actual pledge, but it may be just the amount of money that they put into it. I don't know at the time of this recording, but we'll obviously have to wait and see. But this once again highlights why people don't trust Labour. This is why people don't trust Labour, because this is another U-turn that's looking here. But I'd like to think that they are going to come back to it, but then you don't know that. You don't know that. That's the thing, and this is the thing that people who defend Labour say, is that they're going to come back to that. Well, we don't know that. We don't know that. Yeah, we honestly don't know what exactly they're going to do 100% for sure. When the manifesto comes out, like, how much of that are they going to commit to, when they go into power, which is what we expect them to do? How much of that are they going to commit to that as well? When the manifesto does come out, I will be taking a good chunk of it, and we're going to go through it. We are going to go through that manifesto, because I think it's really important for us to know exactly what Labour are planning to do, and how much of that are they going to keep to it, should they win the next general election. So. But on the House of Lords, it needs either reforming or scrapping, and leaving it there is not good for anyone in any way. I think it's too dangerous. I think we do need to have an upper chamber, a second chamber, but it needs to be an elected one, not one where people can just put whoever they want in there. So Labour is preparing to shelve its pledge to abolish the House of Lords entirely after concluding that the second chamber is operating well. The ally understands. The party is committed to a thorough overhaul of the Lords, but an insider suggested that it would not get rid of it after winning an election. The apparent reversal in policy comes after senior peers have gone public with their concerns about the prospect of scrapping the upper house altogether. Yeah, like I said, I mean, they are committed to a thorough overhaul of the Lords, but are they going to make it an elected one? That's the question. Labour's National Policy Forum last year, backed by the recommendation by Gordon Brown, said that the Lords should be abolished and replaced with a second chamber that is smaller, offers the taxpayer better value for money, and is reflective of the regions and nations with elected representatives rather than political appointees. Sir Keir Starmer continues to insist that he's committed to that policy, but party insiders have said that the Lords would not be scrapped in the first term, with other more limited reforms, including removing the remaining heritage peers and overhauling the appointment process enacted instead. Yeah, take away this whole the peerage thing that PMs are allowed to make, or at least try to limit it. Obviously, getting rid of it completely would be better, but do something about that. It's just a joke, that is. As source said, we're not going to go around saying that the House of Lords is crap. Let's get rid of it. We need to look at how it combines with reform more generally. We don't want to be picking on one group of people. It's about the overall system. There are still 92 heritage peers allowed to sit in the House of Lords, with new members voted in by other autocrats when an existing member dies or retires. As well as abolishing this conversion, Labour is likely to toughen up on the powers of the House of Lords Appointment Commission to block new peers and introduce new limits to the overall size of the chamber, which currently stands at 784 people. John McFall, a former Labour minister who is now a long-partisan Lord Speaker presiding in the proceedings of the upper house, has publicly expressed scepticism about the unintended consequences of abolishing the chamber. He has met Starmer and written to him, drawing attention to his concerns. The Eye understands. Angela Smith, Labour leader in the Lords, has said that abolishing the chamber would not be an immediate priority for a new Labour government, and admitted that the party would need to appoint new peers to help its legislation pass through the upper house. The Conservatives have a built-in advantage in the Lords because a majority of hierarchy peers have taken the Tory whip and the party, and has the largest number of live peers. Although it lacks an overall majority in the chamber, it has suffered 373 separate defeats since the last general election. Sir Chris Bright, the Shadow Digital Minister, said at the weekend that the Labour policy has not changed. He's told Times Radio, "We're still committed to reforming the House of Lords. Some call it abolition because we want to make it on a democratic basis rather than on an appointment process. Obviously, we need to get such reform through the House of Lords itself." Well, override them then. You've got to get these reforms in if you're not going to abolish it. Other party insiders have suggested that even if a first-term Labour government did not scrap the chamber, it could do so after winning re-election in the future. But we don't know for certain what Labour are going to do. Whether they're going to keep to it or not is another thing, because we've seen we've seen Labour making U-turns. So it's hard for us to kind of jump on this bandwagon and saying, oh, they're going to stick to it and whatnot. We just don't know that, guys. We just honestly don't know. So, guys, we're going to take a little bit of a break here. Got a nice little fun video from Nerdine Skinner Comedy, guys. I hope you enjoy this. It's a Liz Truss parody in preparation for popcorns.
Hello, it's me, Liv Struss, and I'm back, baby. That's right, today is the launch of my new group, Popcons. We are the most popular kids in town, and we are going to get moving, get shaking, and get growing. And together, we are going to take back control of Great Benidorm with our amazing expertise. Together, we're going to bring back the conservative values that we know you want. And our first album is out now, fresh with pumpy tunes that are really, really popular to get you in the groove. Starting with the Anti-Wokey. You put your privilege in, success comes out. In, out, you shake it all about. You do the anti-wokey and you turn around. And that's what it's all about. So join us for the party. Woo! You'll have a better life. P.S. I did nothing to King Charles Spaniel apart from give him a really nice coronation cake with extra special ingredients. So yeah, I'd never tell porkies.
Oh, Nerdy Skinner Comedy, guys. Make sure you follow and subscribe to their YouTube channel. Hit the like, share, and all that stuff. Watch it on her channel as well. She does some fantastic stuff, guys. Definitely go check her out. So the next video, well, the next article. Let's just say video then. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just going mad today, guys. So the next one we've got here, this one from the Independent, guys. Oh, why would you want to do this? So the headline is Sunak refuses to rule out bringing Boris Johnson back as he plays down minuscule leadership plots. He's also revealed that he still speaks to the disgraced former PM on occasion. Why are you even talking to this buffoon? He's so that he's not ruling out bringing back Boris Johnson. I don't know what Boris Johnson exactly is going to do if he brings him back. What's he going to do? Make him a lord? Oh God, no, that would be terrible. No, wait, he's still an MP, isn't he, Boris Johnson? Oh God, could you imagine him as a lord? Jesus, that would be horrible. I just think him doing the rallies and all that kind of stuff. People would fall for it still. As crazy as it sounds, I'm not saying it's going to make a difference if we bring him back, but like people still think Boris Johnson was not a bad person, like out there. I know it's crazy, but people still think that. People still think he was an okay prime minister. He got us through the pandemic and this. People believe it. Whatever you might think, people believe it. But his handling of the healthcare crisis was just god awful, and we can. And if you don't want to don't take my word for it. Read from the COVID inquiry. They're independent. There's no. The COVID inquiry is unveiling all of this of what's happened there, and some of the comments and things that he's made in exchanging in certain messages and whatnot speaks great volumes about Boris Johnson. Never mind the things that he has allegedly said as well. So. And he's a pathogen liar. He's been proven to be a pathogen liar as well. So you can't trust the man. And Sunak, as we've already kind of bashed him earlier. Like, I don't know if he wants to go burning down with Boris Johnson. Go right ahead. If it means, this man needs to go anyway. It's just he needs to go. So Rishi Sunak has refused to rule out putting disgraced former Prime Minister Boris Johnson back in the cabinet as he plays down the plots against the leadership as minuscule. The two men fell out after Mr. Sunak's resignation from the cabinet hastened Johnson's exit from the office. But in a new ITV documentary, the Tory leader said he still talks to his predecessor on occasion, the last time late last year. He remained tight-lipped about whether he might bring back Boris, Mr Johnson, who resigned as an MP after he was found to have lied and lied again over the Partygate scandal, saying that he would never talk about these personal things. David Cameron became Foreign Secretary last year in a move that also saw him installed in the House of Lords. Mr Sunak said they worked well together for a long time, although in the end there were well-documented differences in the documentary. But he added that his new team in number 10 were honest. Honest. There's honesty, guys. There's honesty amongst Conservative MPs, guys. There's honesty, guys. Sunak, you're trying to be funny. Just don't. I agree, Mr Sunak is the focus of a plot by MPs, donors and former aides, some of them linked to Mr Johnson to force him out of Downing Street, but he attempted to play down the threats to his position, saying they were minuscule. An exclusive poll paid by the shadowy donors predicted a devastating Labour landslide unless Mr Sunak was removed as leader. Now, let me make something very, very clear. That poll, whatever you like, any polls, whatever polls, guys, just be careful. Take them with a pinch of salt. They're not always the most accurate thing. Sometimes you honestly just don't know what people are going to vote for until they go for the polls. Some people are just probably not going to turn up and vote as well. I have one or two people in my household who are just not going to vote in any way, shape or form. Just not going to vote. Why would they want to vote? They just don't have that trust whatsoever in government, in politics or anything anymore. And you know, I tried to talk to him, but it's just not gonna talk about it. So you can't take polls too seriously. I know sometimes I do cover polls every now and then here on the channel, but because I do think it's a potential inside scoop as to what could happen, but it's not obviously a guarantee of what could happen. It may happen, it may not happen, but it gives you food for thought, is what I see in the maths. The Tory peer Lord Frost, who organised the poll, has since been warned he risks losing the party whip unless he comes clean and names the anonymous moneymen. A senior Tory linked to both Liz Truss and Mr Johnson, Sir Simon Clarke, also recently went public with calls for his party leader to go. The group are thought to be planning a war of attrition against the Prime Minister. But hitting back at his internal critics, Mr Sunak said, "I don't think that the country votes for dividing parties," he added. "Actually, the debate within our party are minuscule compared to the chasm on this issue between us and Keir Starmer." The Prime Minister also insisted that his wealth was not an issue for voters and accused those who've attacked him over it of having a lack of ambition for our country. Mr Sunak and his wife Ashiska Murky are worth an estimated £529 million, according to the 2023 Sunday Times Rich List. And that's the biggest problem. He's a rich man, the Prime Minister. But it's very worrying that he's thinking of bringing in Boris Johnson. You know, he wants to bring him to the Titanic that's obviously going in, that's going to sink at any time now. That's, you know, we just don't want to hear from Boris Johnson. It infuriates me that Liz Truss is obviously lining herself up to be the next leader in the Conservative Party, or have some kind of background, or have some kind of hold over the Conservatives when all things are said and done. But they're just not popular. They're popcorn group. Their ideas and policies are not popular with the public. They're not. They're just not. Don't resonate with what the majority of the public. There's a minority that might be interested, but the vast majority are not interested in what they have to say. They're not interested. People want money put in their pockets, and these people want to take money away from people who, with the money in their pockets, they want to take more money away from them. And you know, we're just heading down this disaster. By the way, just while we're here as well, got my poll card. Got my poll card there. Just out of reference, if you guys want to know in terms of what I'm going to be voting for. I haven't decided. I'm certainly not going to. I can tell you categorically. And we're actually going to talk about the Tory mayoral candidate actually in a bit. But as of right now, I'm definitely not voting for the Tory candidate. I'm not sure if I want to vote Sadiq Khan again, but at the same time, it's like you're kind of stuck choosing between the Conservative and Labour mayors really with the voting system, because of the way it's been done now. But I'll have to wait and see on that. But yeah, it's not going to be interesting to say the least, guys. So, but just before I go to the next one, guys, if you want to financially support me and the work that I do here on YouTube, you can do so by becoming a YouTube member for just as little as 99p. There's a join button down below. You can have a look at the options at either 99p or 2.99 and see the benefits of being a member. If you join for 2.99 and become a 2.99 membership, guys, you get early access to all my videos. That's shorts and long videos. The moment that I've uploaded them onto YouTube, I immediately schedule them for members to watch straight away whenever they are done. So that's for those who become a corporal member. And obviously, if you choose to support me for a 99p membership, which I just as much as appreciate for them, you also get access to special custom emojis. Any kind of comments that you make on any of my videos, I always respond to them, whether it's small or a long message. You always get a response from me as for being a member, because you are financially supporting me in the work that I do here, and I greatly appreciate that. Also, if you also want to check out as well, outside of that, there is the Patreon as well that I have. I don't just on the Patreon, guys, there is exclusive content that I record between Monday to Friday that drops at 12 o'clock on there, that you can check out exclusively on there, separate from YouTube if you want to see more content from me, as well as on Rumble. If you have access to Rumble, you'll see me talk about various foreign, outside the UK news on there. Stories that I talk about on World News and on the Snowflake Corner, I also covered some of those stories on Rumble, so you can hear, maybe share my thoughts a little bit more about them on there, so you could also check them out. The links for all that stuff is in the description if you guys want to do any of that. Thank you if any of you have done any of them. I greatly appreciate it. So this next one, guys, is from Open Democracy. The headline is arrest rate at openly criminal Palestine protest. It's lower than Glastonbury. That's the arrest rate. So Braverman still calls for hate marches to be banned, comes as data shows scant evidence of alleged wrongdoing. So what is this? So basically, what is this about? So basically, the data is showing that there is very low people are being arrested, showing their support for Palestine. The vast majority of people who are in these protests and who do these marches are peaceful, not causing harm to anyone. It is a very low number, and despite that, Suella Braverman is calling these hate marches, when they are calling, they're not calling for. They're calling for peace. They're calling for a ceasefire over there. They're calling for the bloodshed to stop. They're not calling. There may be a minority calling for actions against Israel. Are calling for certain hatreds, and some of them may be supporting Hamas. There may be a small group of them, and they should be arrested and charged if that is the case. But the vast majority of people in these protests are just calling for a ceasefire. They're calling for the bloodshed to stop. As of the time of this recording, over 26,000 Palestinians have lost their lives. Over 10,000 Palestinian children have lost their lives. That is what these protests are about. They're calling for the bloodshed to stop. That's what they're calling. These innocent people to stop dying. That is what these protests are about. They want the bloodshed to stop. That's what these protests are about. And people like Braverman are calling them hate marches. Just shows completely out of touch the former Home Secretary is to call these people hate when they are calling for peace, for calling for the guns to be put down, to call for the bombs to stop dropping, for the children and people within that Gaza Strip who have no food, little to no water. And she's calling these people who are calling for that hateful. Just put that in your heads before you start assuming that these protesters are bad people. Arrests at pro-Palestine protests in London attended by millions of people last year resulted in just 36 charges. Just 36, guys. minuscule, despite attempts by senior politicians to label them as mass extremism and openly criminal. Nonsense. So just because 36 have been charged, we're gonna call them mass extremism and openly criminal? Yeah, I'm gonna have a very hard time believing that. The low number of actual arrests and prosecutions undermines the narrative pushed by senior Tory leaders that the protests are a danger to public safety. The Home Secretary James cleverly said last week that the organisers posed a real evil intent. Where is the evil? Show me the evidence, Mr. Home Secretary, where the evil is here. Show me where the evil is. Can you provide evidence that they are evil? I'd like someone, in the next time he goes to a committee hearing, I would like someone to ask him specifically that he called these protesters real evil intent. Can he specify where the evil is? I really want someone to ask him that question. Where is the evil in this protest? Please explain. And his predecessor, Suella Braverman, today repeatedly have frequent calls for the weekly marches to be banned. But despite the vast number of police deployed around the protests at the cost of £22 million, officers appear only to have been able to find a handful of instances of wrongdoing. A number of charges were brought under the new Public Order Act, while 7 people were charged with assault and 3 with possession of a weapon. Cleverly told the Jewish News last week that the police were now making significant arrests for anti-Semitism hate crimes at the marches. Well, he would say that when talking to the Jewish News. Yet data published by Operation Brooks, which the Met calls its response to the ongoing conflict in Israel and Gaza and its impact on London, reveals that between October and the end of December there were only 153 arrests, with the majority of people, 117, being released without charge. It is difficult to establish attendance at the marches, but organisers have put the number as high as 1 million for individual days. There have been marches most weekends since Israel launched its assault on Gaza, following the October 7th attacks by Hamas, and estimated by the Palestinian Society campaign have put the total attendance between October and December in the excess of 3 million, which would mean an average of 0.5 people have been arrested for every 10,000 attendees. By comparison, Glastonbury Festival saw an average 1.75 arrests for every 10,000 attendees last year. So if you're going to be calling them with evil intent and extremism, then that's what you're saying about people who have been people at Glastonbury as well. And I don't think anybody's going to make that comparison, are they? They're calling for the bloodshed to stop. That's what this is. That's what they're doing. They want the bloodshed to stop. That's what this is about. It means on average, each arrest costs the taxpayers more than £143,000. Ben Jamal, director of the Palestine Society campaign, which has helped organise the protest, said the number of prosecutions was remarkably low. But he added that the figures for arrests and prosecutions did not reflect the extent of over-policing at the demonstrations. The measures introduced by the police have been increasingly draconian and repressive, he said, referring to the now routine use of public order measures amended in the recent Police Crime and Sentencing and Courts Act, giving officers greater powers to restrict protests. He added the use of these sections is not warranted, showed by the arrest figures of what the police have said themselves, and that these are overwhelmingly peaceful marches. Yeah, there are times where there are those who intend to go into these who join these marches with the intent of stirring up hate or stirring up support for Hamas or stirring up to try and rattle the rest of the crowds to try and make out that all these people are bad. And what tends to happen is that the peaceful protesters kind of just push these people out, basically get them out of the way to say, hey, these people are not part of the protest, they're not part of our organisation, or they get pointed out to the police so that the police can basically deal with them. So those who claim to support Hamas, which is, I think, anyone supporting Hamas and their actions, no, they should be arrested and charged for any kind of support for them. You don't see me calling for the arrest of people who marched in support for Israel, do you? I haven't done that. You know, they're perfectly entitled to make their marches and protests too, because we have seen them, but I don't agree with it personally because of the government have not done enough to save the lives of those who those who lost their lives in that horrible attack by Hamas. The government haven't done nowhere near enough for those innocent lives that have been lost. So it's very toxic, that is for sure. But like I said, as long as they're not doing anything wrong, I haven't heard any arrests made whenever Israel did their protests. Were there any arrests made during them? Any at all? Because if there was, would they have been reported? I don't think if there was any arrests, they probably would not have been reported when they did. The Met attempted to prevent last weekend's march from ending in Whitehall before climbing down. The force also authorised the removal of face coverings they believed to be worn to conceal people's identities throughout the city of Westminster, a large area of central London. Meanwhile, the forces prohibited Palestinian protesters from gathering outside the Israeli embassy on specific grounds surrounding the road since October. Why is that? They're not. As long as then, why is that? If they're peaceful protesting, what's the problem? Has freedom of speech been taken away there? And earlier this week, cleverly announced that protesters who climb war memorials at pro-Palestine marches could face 3 months in prison and a £1,000 fine under a new criminal offence. This, I think, was well over the top. I do think it's silly that people climbing on top of memorials and that any protesters, regardless. I think anyone doing that is stupid and silly. But £1,000 fine, 3 months in prison, it's a bit excessive, if I'm honest, guys. Very excessive. These rules are there to deter, says Jamal. What's astonishing is that despite this, people are not being detained and are turning up in really vast numbers. So there's no way the state can ban our protests. The police monitoring group Nepal told us that it came across countless worrying people of police repression and surveillance at Palestine marches, including the arrests of people targeted for their use of slogans and chants, especially if they're in Arabic as well as young people. This is one of the largest and strongest mobilisations of society in recent years, said Nepal spokesperson Kat Hobbs. She added that the government has tried to shut it down by characterising Palestinian society actions as hate marches and supporting for terrorism, referring to Breverman's comments last October. If you hear any noise in the background, I apologise, can't do anything about it. The policing is political and it has got one goal: to shut down international solidarity efforts and scare people off the streets, Hobbs said. Meanwhile, Shabi Liska, a Stop the War officer, said he attended a recent protest where an officer walked around with a sign stating the phrase "End Israeli Apartheid" could be treated as a hate crime. In a separate protest, an officer informed Laka that the chant "Globalize and Infaglia" was racially aggressive hate speech. He referred to both instances as merely threats and attempted at intimidation. The vast majority of these joining protests have done so in a lawful and peaceful way, but a minority have broken the law and arrests have been made, the Met said in a statement. Yes. That's yeah. As I've already said, yeah. We will deal swiftly with anyone who carries placards or banners that make statements that cross the line into religious or racially aggressive offences. Yeah. And I agree with that. Anyone that goes along the lines of calling for support for Hamas or in any way, shape or form, and yeah, just, you know, we just want the violence to stop. We want the bloodshed to stop, is what they're trying to say. And is what I want. I want the bloodshed to stop. That is what I want. And I hope you guys agree with me too, that you want the bloodshed to stop too. So guys, we got one more story for you guys. If you haven't already, hit the like button, share across social media, and hit that bell notification icon so you'll be notified when I upload another video. If the bell notification icon did not work, guys, please turn off your notification and turn it back on to get it working. It's something it's a YouTube issue. It's not a YouTuber issue. We can't deal with it as YouTubers. It's a YouTube thing. So if you have that, not just with my channel, but with other channels, turn your notification back off, turn it back on, and it should start working again. So this last article, guys, we've got is from Barline Times. And the headline is Anti-Fascist Group Takes on London Conservative Mayoral Hopeful Suzanne Hall, branding the Contender a racist. And I'm going to go out on a limb before I even read any more, saying, yeah, I think she is. She doesn't even know how much a bus pass costs, guys. In London, how much for a bus fare? Do you know how much it costs for a bus fare in London? without Googling it. Yeah, say that as you're Googling it now, guys. Hall previously like a string of tweets praising Rivers of Blood MP Echo Powell and branding the capital London terrorism under Muslim Mayor Sadiq Khan. This Susan Hall really doesn't have very little to no knowledge about London. She really doesn't. Like that interview she had with Nick Ferrara on LBC really highlighted just how minuscule and how little she knows about London. She was asked some questions and she just waffled because she couldn't answer them. She was put on the spot with numerous questions and she didn't have the answers to them. And it is extremely embarrassing. If you're going to be the mayor of London, you've got to do your damn homework. And she has not done her homework in any way, shape or form. So let's hear what this campaign group is about. So a leading anti-fascist organisation has launched a campaign to take on Conservative mayoral candidate Susan Hall AM at the London mayoral election this May. Hope Not Hate kicked off their on-the-ground activism against Sadiq Khan's opponent on Wednesday by the leftists at stations around the London, accusing the Conservative mayoral hopeful of racism, in no small part due to her controversial statements on social media. A spokesperson for Hope Not Hate said the group has exposed her racist social media history that includes the Harrow-based politician having liked a tweet saying it's never too late to get London back. What on earth do you mean by that? The picture was an image of a late Conservative MP, Echo Powell, with the quote, "It's never too late to send your country." This was not a quote from Rivers of Blood speech giver Powell, but a slogan that was once on the British National Party's website. Oh, yeah, that's not very good. She has also previously liked a tweet from a user suggesting Echo Powell should have been Prime Minister, saying that like Echo Powell to be in addition to a pack of Prime Minister's playing cards. Other examples point to the group, including quote tweeting an article from the notorious right-wing misinformation The Gateway Pundit, and alienating a conspiracy to steal the 2020 US presidential election from Trump. Oh, let's not go there, please, today. And she replied to a tweet from far-right commentator Katie Hopkins calling Sadiq Khan our nipple-hype mayor of London's Tissen, with an endorsement saying, "Thank you, Katie. London Tissen is the term used to convey the idea that Muslims are taking over London." What? Oh my. Yeah, you are not fit to be mayor of London. Actually, I'm going to go out a bit more of a limb. You're probably not fit to be anywhere near any kind of political landscape whatsoever. At all. I don't understand how someone like this got even to be a candidate, let alone a Conservative MP. This is quite vile. This is quite a vile person. Hall also liked and replied to a tweet about Sadiq Khan's anti-violence against women and girls strategy, saying, "Well said, Sudan, that Labour's traitor like RAT likes that sort of thing, being female genital mutilation and violence against women and girls. This is racially in charge, implying that Muslims support FGM and violence." Challenged about her social media activity on LBC last September, in particular to the Echo Powell meme and Katie Hopkins tweets, Hall told the LBC radio phone-in she can't remember doing so, adding, "I tweet, or I used to, all the time. When I retweet, oh no, I think I liked it, I don't know. This was a long time ago, I wasn't in that mind. I'm glad you give me the opportunity to say." The interviewer, Nick Ferrari, interjected, "I think you did. You retweeted it." Hall replied, said, "I retweeted. I have no idea." You don't know what you tweeted, what you liked on your Twitter. You should think, if you're not 100% sure, you should go and check your timeline then, shouldn't you? You have to be very careful. Your Twitter, what you tweet and like, and that can come back to bite you if you're not careful. People have shot themselves in the foot by certain things they do. Not very good. She denies she was a supporter of the former Conservative peculiar Egan Powell, adding, "If you're a serial tweeter, you tend to go through liking all sorts of things, and sometimes you read things and don't see. If anybody is offended, then obviously I would apologise." In October 2023, Hall was urged to apologise after claiming Jewish communities in London were frightened by Sadiq Khan. The London Assembly member made the comments at a Conservative Friends of Israel at the Conservative Party conference in Manchester. Prior to selection at the Conservative Assembly, Mayor liked to tweet saying that Sadiq Khan is begging for Londoners to do a Tower Hamlet postal vote for May next year, and we all know how that works. #fraud. What? Are you accusing the mayoral elections as fraud now? Wow. Effectively accusing Sadiq Khan of electoral corruption and promoting the idea that Muslims and electoral politicians subdue democratic principles. What evidence do you have to support this? Oh my God. Wow. And she liked to tweet targeting journalists, including on branding Sky's Matthew Thompson and then at LBC a virus. George Lemon, director of campaign at Hope Not Hate, said Susan Hall is clearly not fit to represent a diverse and multicultural city like London. Her social media activity is some of the most egregious we've seen from a Conservative candidate, and that's why we'll be taking her on in this election. At the end of last year, the group polled over 1,000 Londoners and found that 64% believe Susan Hall's social media conduct was racist. The group said it would be using some of the most advanced voice analysis available to identify areas of each constituency that might be most repetitive to high-right politics, and to target them with anti-Hall material. Susan Hall's team was contacted for comment. So it looks like they're going to target those who really don't like Sadiq Khan, which I think is a very clever idea, very clever tactic from them, and I think that's the best way to do it. Target the groups that are very, very unlikely, who don't like Sadiq Khan, who don't want to vote for Sadiq Khan, are fed up with him. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to be anti-Khan anyway because of the ULEZ scheme. There's still a lot of anger about that as well. People have not forgotten that, because I know even in my area, people are still knocking over traffic lights. Yeah, the people are still doing that over the US protests. So that's not going anywhere. So people are still there are those people who are not happy with the mayor. So there's that as well. So yeah, I mean, but the thing is like, if you don't want Sadiq Khan, then who else are you going to vote for? That's the thing, is there's not going to be enough votes for the Lib Dem mayor. There's not going to be enough for the Green Vote mayor or any of the other independent mayors that are going to be running. There's not going to be enough votes for them. There's just not. So you're stuck choosing between red and blue. You really are. And I think we're just going to end up being stuck with Sadiq Khan. So who am I going to vote for? If there's a Green candidate, I'll probably vote for them. That's probably what I'm going to do anyway. So guys, we've come to the end of Regan's news round. Let me know what you guys think about all the stories we covered in the comments section down below. What did you guys think of them all? I hope you found it very informative and helpful for you guys. If you can, before you go, please hit the like button. We greatly appreciate it. Share it across social media and subscribe, because it really does help out the channel. And if you want to financially support me in the work I do, you can do so again by becoming a YouTube member for as little as 99p, or joining me on Patreon or Rumble for exclusive content there as well. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I hope to catch you all very, very soon.